Hi, my name is Ron Wilstein and I'm a broker at Keller Williams Luxury Properties here in Park City, Utah. And I want to share with you what's happening in the Park City real estate market. It's April 2022 and Easter Sunday, and so our resorts are actually closing today. Deer Valley and the Park City Mountain are enjoying their last day of ski season as we move toward the spring and summer activities in Park City. I want to cover two things today. I want to go over the Park City real estate market, specifically statistics, what's been selling, what hasn't, and what that means for the future, as well as taking a look at some common questions that are being asked in light of world events, in light of the supply and demand in Park City. And so that's what's on our agenda for today. So let's just hop right into the facts. Over the last 12 months, there's been 2,698 sales in Park City. That's homes, condominiums, and vacant land combined, all real estate brokerages combined. And when you look back over the previous year, that's a decrease in the number of transactions by 11% or 345 sales. This is due to our limited inventory. It isn't a lack of interest in Park City. To the contrary, there's a heightened interest and lack of inventory properties to purchase. This graph here is showing you homes, condominiums, and vacant land or lots. The red bar represents the current time period of April 2021 through March 22, and the silver bar represents the 12-month period before that. You can see here with homes, there's a decrease in the number of homes, down 30% to 690 from the previous 988. Again, lack of inventory. Homes were not available to be purchased. Fortunately, condominiums are up 6%, climbing from 1,290 to 1,365. And then when it comes to lots, again a decrease from 765 to 643, a 16% drop off, again due to a lack of inventory. Here we're looking at single-family homes, and I've broken it into Park City, the Snyderville Basin, and the Jordanelle. And immediately you can see a significant decrease in the number of transactions, dropping in Park City by 46%, dropping in the Snyderville Basin 22%, and the Jordanelle area by 25%. Again, in each case, this is a lack of homes to be purchased, not a lack of interest. Condominiums, we see that there was a decrease in Park City by 11% from 508 to 452, but we did see an increase where there was supply in the Snyderville Basin and the Jordanelle, with the Snyderville Basin rising by about 15% up to 618 sales from 538, and the Jordanelle area 21% increase from 244 to 295 sales. Now we're looking at vacant land. Of course, we don't have that much land available, particularly in the city. The number of transactions dropped by 28%, which numerically is from 54 sales the previous year to 39 this last 12-month period. 33% decrease in the Snyderville Basin from 309 to 208, and a 1% decrease in the Jordanelle from 406 to 396. Again, Jordanelle has the greatest amount of land available to be purchased, and so it's relatively flat, the number of transactions. So when we take a look at these graphs all together, what we see is the downward motion on the marketplace, the number of sales dropping in most categories, and this is due to the lack of properties to purchase. Now let's take a look at prices. When it comes to prices, we have all good news in terms of prices going up. Good news if you're a property owner, maybe not as good if you're buying, but that's our marketplace. Look at these appreciation levels and notice the double digits, because just about every category will be double digits. We're looking at home medium sold prices in Park City rose year over year by 35%. The new medium sold price now is $3,625,000 in the Park City city limits. Snyderville Basin, 23% year over year appreciation mark, climbing from $1,632,500 to an even $2 million as the new medium sold price in the Snyderville Basin. And in the Jordanelle area, year over year increase not as significant, a modest 3%, but the new median price is $2,550,000. Here we're looking at condominiums. 20% increase in the Park City limits from $1,001,000 to $1,325,000. 53% increase in the Snyderville Basin, with the median sold price of condos increasing from $556,040 to $850,000. Now, the main increase for that isn't just our increasing market, but the actual inventory of what's sold were primarily properties around the canyons area and higher price point. So naturally, with a higher price point, we're going to see that increase just because that's what's available to be purchased. In the Jordanelle area, 24% year-over-year appreciation from $675,000 as the median sold price to $838,870. So all three categories, prices going up. And then we turn to vacant land, and again we see the same thing. Park City limits, again we didn't have that many sales, but comparison rose by 59%. So the new median sold price for land in Park City is $2,150,000. That's just incredible. It really is amazing. The Snyderville Basin, a 42% increase from $639,000 all the way up to $910,000. And in the Jordanelle area, a 97% increase from $355,000 to $699,400. So when you see a 97% increase, the figures are accurate. It's just about doubled. But again, realize that the quality by way of location, size, views, etc., of what sold in terms of vacant land around the Jordanelle Reservoir, more expensive product, therefore that naturally jumps there. Again, we take these graphs together, we take the statistics as a whole. What are prices doing? They're going up, and they went up in every single category. Prices rose in every category by double digits with the exception of one, and as high as 97% over the previous year prices. So that's our values in Park City. So limited supply, few choices for today's buyers, and those that they buy are they're buying it for more money than they did in the past. That's our marketplace. Time on the market is also an indicator of what's happening in the marketplace. We're now looking back 6 months, not a whole year, when we look at these graphs. Average time on the market, this is from under contract when they're accepted offer to closing, 37 days, compared to a very short 47 days prior to that. So transactions are happening very fast. In order to have transactions that fast, they need to be cash transactions. More than half of our transactions are all cash in Park City, but that's our marketplace. It's competitive, and so what buyers are coming in is not only offering sellers the price they want, but terms they want. And some of the terms often involve a shorter transaction, quicker closings. That's exactly what you're seeing here. Now, in light of those market statistics for the Park City real estate market, it's time to ask the question, where is the Park City market heading and why? And so I want to talk about our current inventory issues, our supply and demand, and look at that within the context of today's market. Let's also take into account that we are faced with higher interest rates, much talk about recession ahead, inflation, of course, and just where is the world going these days. And then the war in Ukraine is obviously on all of our minds, what's going to happen there and how far-reaching that tension is going to be in our global environment. And so are all these things going to impact Park City's real estate market, and in what ways? Well, we want to begin by looking at the number of properties for sale, and our efforts in looking at this topic is to try to figure out what the fair value is for a property. So let me begin there, and let me just say that my intent was for Jeremy and I to get on and discuss this and hear from him today, but we were faced with technical difficulties, as sometimes occurs, and so I gave him the day off. I'm going to share my thoughts, and next webinar we'll definitely have Jeremy weighing in on his opinion. So you just get me on this today due to our technical difficulties. So let me just share with you a bit about which category of properties are available, which are not. The statistics I just covered with you probably gives you a sense of that, but our biggest lack of inventory is in the single family market. There just are not many choices, and there are buyers sitting on the sidelines ready to go, watching the market every single day in order to find the property and to be able to acquire it, and hopefully not in a multiple offer situation from their point of view. Different, of course, from the seller's point of view. As a result, there's a lot of waiting and watching, and realtors talking to each other and brokers talking to each other. And so if you're in that category, it's very important that you have someone representing you who's in touch with the marketplace, who's hearing about properties before they come on the market, because frankly, a good segment of our deals are never hitting the market. The deals are being put together because we know a buyer's looking for this type of property, an agent knows about it, or a broker, they get together, they hammer out a deal, and it never hits the market. So it's very important that you have some professional representation by someone who's very in touch with the marketplace. Are there things related to that? Are there things that can help you buy a property in today's market? Other things we were going to talk about in terms of that can get in the way of it. And the most important thing we can say if you're a buyer is, number one, be in a position to buy. If you're a cash buyer, have evidence and proof of that cash, however you have it, in order to present that along with your offer. It makes a huge impression, and especially if you're in a multiple offer situation, that you can perform. You've got the wherewithal in order to close on the deal that you're offering to purchase. In addition, we always think about price. How do you negotiate price? And of course, every buyer wants the best possible deal. Every seller wants the highest price. But in this marketplace where we're setting almost record sale prices every transaction, it's important to realize that if you're trying to, as a buyer, come in and get the lowest possible price, and you're not acting really, really fast, and you have any competition in the marketplace, you're not going to get the property. You need to come in, you need to be prepared to pay more now so that you can have the property that you want. We're in this heavily appreciating market, so you're going to be fine even if you get a little bit ahead of the prices. Frankly, that's what it's taken to buy these days. So hard thing for some buyers, totally understand that, but overall our advice would be that you try to put your best foot forward immediately in order to make the deal, make it an easy decision for the seller, and you come away with the property. Now there are some exceptions to that, and that is if a property has been on the market for a long time, which we already talked about how long properties are staying on the market that are selling. It's short. But if it's a longer period of time, there's probably a reason for that. And it's either going to be there's something lacking in the property or fewer buyers for that type of property, or it's just overpriced. And if it's overpriced, even in the hottest of hot markets, which is what we have, properties still don't sell. There still is a limit to how much you can ask and successfully achieve. So that's my comments on that. Let's go on with some other thoughts. As we're all well aware of, the U.S. and global economies are looking at the possibility of a recession. We've got inflation, we've got higher interest rates, we've got the uncertainty of Ukraine, we have a lot going on. So what do I think is the impact of these world events on the Park City real estate market? My answer is pretty simple, probably little or none. And that may seem near impossible, but I've lived in Park City for over 33 years. I've seen it through every different market. Park City is a unique place. I'm not suggesting that it is immune to the impact of all these factors. We are impacted by these factors. However, Park City is likely to push through them minimally impacted. And the reason I say that is, number one, Park City continues to be a heavily sought after area. We literally have people on the sidelines who want to buy it. During the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, and we're still in it, but we're 2 years past the beginning of it, people headed to Park City to take their refuge. They quarantined here. They enjoyed the lifestyle here. They turned up living here full time. Even people who had second homes that only used them 2 weeks out of the year made Park City their home. And some have returned to their previous home, but many have not. And so that created a scenario with limited inventory for those who wanted to either rent for the ski season or buy here under normal circumstances. So we're a very sought after place. Our outdoor lifestyle is, of course, a huge part of the draw, not only during the ski and snowboard season, but in the summer months when we'll be on the lake, we'll have festivals. We have a lot going on here in Park City. The other thing that needs to be said is that there is plenty of money in Park City. We have a lot of wealthy people. Our prices clearly reflect that. You cannot simply buy in Park City without having the wherewithal to pull it off. And so whether it's right or wrong, it's a reality that those who have more resources are less impacted by these world events. Interest rates on a loan doesn't matter when you pay cash. It's that simple. Inflation, you're not impacted as much as others who do not have as much as what you may have. So it's just a reality of the world here that we're in a different environment, and so I don't think Park City is going to be impacted that much, frankly. And we'll be the first to report it if we see it, but we are obviously not seeing it. You saw the statistics I went through with you. Finally, let's talk about how does a buyer or a seller figure out what the fair market value of the property is in this sort of market. And historically, what we would look at, of course, is we would look at past sales of similar properties, similar geographical areas, and we would use those as comparables, much like an appraiser does when the appraiser is hired by the bank to establish value for a loan. That's not any different. What's different is because of our short supply of available properties, deals are being put together not as much by past sales, what's fair value, quote unquote, but it has more to do with how firm a seller wants to be on their price or insistent to be on their price, and how badly the buyer wants the property. And so does that create a setup for the value of properties increases? Yes, that's exactly what we saw with the statistics. Does that mean a buyer may have to pay more than what the statistics would show as the fair market value of a property to acquire it? Yes, that's exactly what our market is doing. And so while we like to be analytical, we like to present the comparable statistics, and we certainly do every time we're working with a buyer and a seller so they understand what the fair market value is, we do typically advise a buyer to say, look, we know what the seller is asking for in price because it's a listed property. They've come out and said it. We've spoken with the listing broker to get some additional insight about the seller, why he or she wants to sell, what's their circumstances, all the appropriate background questions in order to advise a buyer. But then when it comes down to it, we're going to say, look, you've seen the comparables, you've seen what's available and the lack of choices, you know how this property ranks in your mind as a purchaser. With that in mind and what the seller wants, step up and do what you're prepared to do in order to acquire the property. And that's really what a buyer has to do. And they'll have their limits, totally understandable. They'll still want to get the best deal that they can under the circumstances. But frankly, until that buyer puts forth that offer and the seller gets a chance to respond to it, you won't know. And when the seller responds, they may be delighted because a buyer has really stepped it up and it meets the time frame of the seller for selling and other requirements that they have. Or they may counter really high and hold firm on that. And I've seen both things happen. I've seen buyers step it up and get up to that price or pretty close and they make a deal. And I've seen buyers walk away and say it's just too high. And that seller has to kind of lick their wounds, and maybe they don't have any wounds because they're happy about this marketplace, and they just have to wait for the next buyer who is willing to pay the price that they're after. That is our marketplace. So sellers need to realize that if you have a ridiculously high price, you're not going to get it. And don't feel insulted when people offer you less because it just is too high. There is such a thing, even in this hot market, of being too high. Flip side of that coin, of course, is that just about every sale is setting a new record. Until that stabilizes or starts declining, which it hasn't yet, that's our marketplace. And that's why sellers are making the decisions they're making and buyers are making the decisions they're making in order to end up with the property. Well, I've covered a lot in a short period of time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email, ron@thewilstein.com or jeremy@thewilsteinteam.com. We're happy to give you a call back. Let us know the best time. Don't hesitate to ask questions. If you want to know the value of your property based upon the stats, we'll provide that, and we'll have a specific discussion, much like what I covered in this webinar, about your particular neighborhood or condo property or what's happening. Because of course in each area or each type of property there's specific details that I haven't covered in today's overview. So with that in mind, I want to thank you for watching our webinar. Be sure to go to our website, BuyParkCity.com, bookmark it. Always have current information there, always helpful information.